everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Rookie Division in the Fuji Open Tournament. The video here is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic, so let's go. We are going to start with hole number 1 and we're going to play this one with a power 0 ball. Going to try in this playthrough to stay away from using more than a power 2 ball, maybe a power 3 ball if we do must. First here, we need to have in mind as well that we do need to play this one downhill. And for those of you that don't know, playing downhill means that the ball is affected more by the wind. So we do need to add 20% to our adjustment. So the easiest way to do that is to add that to the wind. So you add 20% to the wind, which in this case would be approximately around 6 miles per hour in terms of wind. Using 3 bars of backspin with the Goliath and having the blue ring by the bunker to the left. Aiming deliberately a little bit to the left of the pin because the ball is going to have and get a natural push to the right. So therefore we do need to compensate for that by aiming a little bit to the left. Adjusting for 20% extra and medium distance numbers, you can see we're coming very nicely and we get just close to the edge there of the cup. Definitely a possibility to get this ball in the hole in the end. Hole number 2, here we're going to play with the quarterback due to its accuracy and ball guideline. 3 bars of topspin and as much side spin to the right with the quasar. And for those that do want to play a little bit more aggressively, you can go with a little bit of curl to the right. Here I'm only going to play myself straightforward, laying up, and then having a shot towards the pin. I feel that we can divide the player base in 2 different sectors. Those of you that want to play conservative, those of you that want to play more aggressively. Playing more aggressively, of course, make us take a bigger risk, that we risk going into the rough or into the bunker. But also playing conservative doesn't really give us the best opportunity to hold it out in the end. Also for the drive, we do need to over adjust here as well due to the slight downhill approach. So we do need to over adjust 10%, add that to the wind so you get the correct wind and then you adjust from there. And you can see as well, I'm using a power 1 ball, side spin 2 ball. We do need the side spin, we do want to kick ourselves into the right, so we do get as much distance as possible towards the pin. Here we go, 3.5 bar. You can see we're just by maximum distance. Look here what I forget here now. I forget to add backspin, because now we do need backspin. We do want to use as much backspin as possible with our thorn, and I'm going to go for a dunk. And a dunk is something you should only go with if you feel comfortable with going for it. If you don't feel comfortable, you're going to use max backspin and then aim for the ball to bounce past the pin and roll back towards the pin to get in the hole. But I value the dunk here better due to that the pin stands so short. The risk that we do take though, and yeah, disregard that I'm not using any spin, you do need to use max backspin. That's why using a thorn with as much backspin possible. But the reason we go for the dunk is like, look how short that pin stands on the green. So if the pin would be staying more in the center of the green, then we would be playing a regular shot. But now as it stands so short, we kind of can't do anything if we're not having a lot of backspin. Look at our opponent here with the Goliath level 3. There is no chance whatsoever for our opponent to get that ball in the hole if he's not going for the dunk. And even with the dunk, that's too little of backspin. And that would end up making you having to adjust on the fairway or on the fringe just there at the start of the green, and then you risk definitely to bounce your ball back into the bunker. You can see how high bounce, and our opponent is a little bit lucky there, not falling back into the sand. Hole number 3 3 par 5, 10% extra for the drive, and we're going to use as much side spin to the left possible, which is 4.5 bars, and also 4.5 bar top spin with extra mile level 5, making sure that the second bounce is just over the rough, because we do not want our ball to come too hot over to the other fairway. And every time we do have a tailwind, the ball is going to have a longer second bounce due to the tailwind is giving an extra push while hitting the ground. So therefore we do need to back up, and we do need to let the second bounce just be over the rough. Something I want to add for hole number 2 as well that I did forget. The elevation adjustment for the second shot is minus 10%. We don't need to play that one uphill, so that ball is not going to be adjusted as much as normal due to its uphill approach. So downhill, ball affected more by the wind. Uphill, the ball is affected less by the wind. We're getting it over there now, and that's perfect. Now we do have a shot towards the pin, and here you can choose 2 ways as well. You can play conservatively, or you can play aggressively. I'm going to choose a more aggressive route here, and I do make one tiny mistake here, and that is that I'm not using enough topspin. You do need to play with a Goliath due to its enormous topspin, and you do want to use maximum amount of topspin going for the sand bump. Maybe it sounds strange, you might not have done that before yourself, but believe me, it works. Max topspin, so this is too little, because we do want the max topspin to be able to get the speed up towards the pin. Aiming for the sand, and then adjust for nothing extra, just a normal medium or maximum distance depending on the distance you got with your driver, and then you take your shot. You can see we're rolling up there on the fringe, but we need way more topspin. Super important. If you do want to play conservatively, then you play on the island you do have on the left. You can see where our opponent is aiming now, there. The reason I don't want to play on that way is because it takes away the opportunity for an albatross. It's a very tough route to go, because we need curl, we need backspin, and then we need to hit the pin to make the ball stop. So that is going to be super tough. Hole number 4, par 4, and we're going to start by using, as you can see, I'm using an extra mile level 8, but the reason I'm doing that is because I did run out of account to play in rookies. I had to use my main account. 4 bars topspin, which is more like an extra mile level 3, level 4, and as much side spin to the right possible with the katana. You can see that I backed up my target a little bit, so I wasn't in max distance to try to reflect the way it would be playing with a lower level extra mile, because of course there will be not many players playing with an extra mile level 8 in rookie, and that's not the case that I want to portray here as well. I want to try to play the shot as having a lower level extra mile, as I cannot use it. So, but the thing that we're going to do is that we're going to bounce before the bunker, and we're going to try to gain as much distance possible to getting as close to the green possible. And I want to use that route to the right because we do have tailwind. If we would be having headwind, I would be playing to the left and not taking that much risk. Our opponent is playing even more aggressively because he has an Apocalypse at level 5, and then you can reach. But that's something that we most likely won't be having. If we're not having extra mile, we don't have an Apocalypse level 5. Also, the 10% extra is needed for the drive. Shot number 2, and here we're going to play with our short iron, and you decide what short iron do you want to play with that you feel the most comfortable with. For me, it's the Thorn, and once again, the Thorn level 8 is a much better club, but see it as this shot you can do with whatever short iron you might have. So, Thorn, Hornet, Kingfisher, and you do have a lot of clubs to choose between, and then you can see we're dropping for an eagle. Definitely an opportunity to make an eagle. Hole number 5, and here I'm going to show you one approach that you can play with a lower level Guardian. Even a Guardian level 1 could be a possibility here. If you're not having a Guardian, don't play like our opponent. Then we need to play on the left side of the bunker. Use a ball with side spin 3, Katana, Kingmaker, to bounce ourselves up towards the pin. And that is going to be played with a long iron. The problem we have here, as for our opponent, is that the green, as you can see, slopes slightly down to the left. And missing the pin too much to the left is going to cost you having a very tough putt to make the ball going in the hole for a birdie. Our turn, you can see here, I'm going to change to a power 0 ball using a Marlin just to reduce the wind a little bit. And using max backspin with the Guardian level 3, aiming for where you can see just before the fringe starts, and aiming slightly to the right of the pin due to the slight side wind to the left. Then we're going to over adjust this shot with a 20%. So 20% medium distance of our club, which is 3 rings. Hit the ball perfect, and you can see that this ball is going to come in very nicely. This is a very tough par 3, so getting this one close is something that we should be okay with. If we drop for a hole-in-one, then we're going to be super happy, but not something that's going to happen that often. Once again, I'm having the extra mile level 8, and I'm going to play with 4.5 bar topspin and as much side spin to the right possible, and back up my target, as that we will have to do with whatever extra mile we are having. The reason I'm only using 4.5 bars is to reflect the amount of topspin there is on a lower level extra mile, as we do not have an extra mile 8 playing in rookie. I'm going here for the double bounce, and I try to make an overpower shot. I tried that several times, and there is a big risk making an overpower shot going into the rough and the trees there to the left. So therefore we're going to choose a double bounce by, you can see here, we bounce one time on the fairway, then one time on the fairway before the rough, and then we go over the hill, rolling over to the next fairway. Important here to use a power 3 ball, so we do have the distance. We don't need to, but I think it's a important thing to actually do. As if we are unlucky, we maybe clip the rough, or we maybe go into the rough because we make a bad drive. We do want and need the distance to be able to reach for the green in 2. For the second shot now we're going to have a long iron, or we're going to have a wood club. And here in this case I'm going to play with a long iron in maximum distance. And once again the club is too leveled up, but you're going to see the trick, you're going to see the way that you're going to play even with a lower level long iron. And of course you can play with whatever long iron you want. For me it's the Goliath. I prefer the Goliath more than I do with another club. You can see here I'm using a little bit of side spin to the left to just take myself away from the bunker, 2 bars of backspin, and then we're going to adjust just a little bit. And the most importantly with the second shot is that we're going to over adjust that shot with a 10% as well. So 10% over adjustment for the drive and 10% for the second shot. Disregard the level of the clubs, focus on the way it's played instead. Hole number 7 now everyone, and this is the last par 3, also a very easy par 3. And here we're going to play with a power 0 ball. It's going to either be a basic ball or a Marlin ball, as we are just going to have to bounce over the bunker and let the ball fall down towards the pin. Something to be said before we take a shot is that we do need to over adjust this shot as well. A lot of over adjustment this tournament time, and we do need to over adjust with a 10%. Make sure that you are getting over the rough. I'm making one little mistake here, and that is to use the incorrect spin adjustment. Here you can see that I'm changing to the backbone. The backbone has a better accuracy, it has a better ball guideline, and therefore I feel the backbone is going to be a better club on hole number 7. I'm using half a bar of backspin, but I would like you to take that away and play with no backspin, no topspin instead, to be able to have enough speed to roll towards the pin. We make a medium distance with a 10% over adjustment, and then we're gonna hit the ball perfect. We bounce, and you can see we have a very nice roll here towards the pin. Very nice, but we're going short. Take away the backspin, we're gonna be fine. Let's go to hole number 8, and here we are going to play in an aggressive way, and we're going to use a power 3 ball using as much topspin possible with our club. So if you have a club an extra mile higher level, then of course use more topspin there. We're gonna stretch out, and we're going to go and stretch out to try to visualize where the second bounce is going to be. We do want the second bounce to be as far up as possible, obviously, as we do want to clear the rough or bounce in the rough to roll out on the other fairway. And what I mean with playing aggressive on this one is that we do have to use a little bit of overpower. But don't be alarmed just because you're using overpower, because even if you get stuck in the rough here, you still will be able to reach for the green in 2 with no problem. Because the positive thing for us here is that we are getting over, we have a very good approach towards the pin here. So when we are looking for the risk and reward type of situation, it is super important that with the risk we take, that we, even if we make a bad shot, we're still going to be reaching. Then we're going to play that type of way all the time. As the worst case, we're just gonna play it up for a birdie, and in the best case, we have a good chance for an eagle. If you in some way only want to play with power 0 ball and you don't want to go with overpower, then you will have to play up on the top right and then going for the pin from distance there, which would be with a wood club. The drive here is important though, to use a 20% over adjustment, which is a lot. So you have to over adjust 20% to hit the intended spot. And here you can see I'm trying to go back and forth with my club to judge in what type of distance we are with our club. And I see this one as more as a medium distance of my club. So I'm going to play it just medium distance number, no topspin, no backspin, no curl, and no side spin obviously as well. And then we're going to adjust the rings here. You can see I'm zooming, letting the wind arrow be pointed straight forward. And then we're going to take our shot. Hit it perfect, and this is going to be a very good and nice chance for you making an eagle. Boom! Hole number 9, here we're going to change to the extra mile. I don't want to play with a quarterback, as then we will have to stretch out and adjust from overpower position. Even with a power 3 ball, we still have to stretch out a little bit, so therefore I changed to an extra mile, and I'm going to change to play with a navigator. And the reason I want to play with a navigator is because it reduces the wind. It has wind resistance 2. Sure, it only has side spin 1, but the wind resistance is what I'm looking for here. So a navigator here is perfect. You don't have to play with a power 3 ball, even though it's a par 5. We're just going to play ourselves over the rough, trying to gain enough distance, I would say. But if you can get it up here to where this shadow ends, it's absolutely perfect. Then we know that we have no problem to reach, to bounce ourselves towards the pin. The drive as well needs to be over adjusted at 10%. Super important, as you otherwise will have a problem hitting the spot that you are aiming for. Our opponent is going for the rough bump, or at least looking for going for the rough bump, and I don't blame him for doing that, because the rough bump is definitely in play. But I do believe that if you're not 100% with your ring adjustment, knowing the clubs that you're having, then you should not be playing that shot, because it would be so much risk. And the risk that you take is, of course, to go into the water, go into the rough, go into the sand. So the thing that I'm going to show is an alternative way to the rough bump, is that we're going to have, in my book, minimum 3.5 bar backspin. Now I only have a 3 and a click, so I would like to have a little bit more. And you can see that we're going to bounce over the water, bouncing towards the pin. It's very important that you do over adjust the second shot as you did for the drive with a 10% extra. So you're bouncing here, bouncing over on the fringe to roll then towards the pin. 3 bars of backspin, or like 3.5, is what I want you to use. So please make sure that you're choosing a wood club that gives you at least 3.5 bar backspin. If you're not having any, then sure, then we will have to go with the one that has the closest to it. Very close for an albatross. This is definitely a possibility to a drop as well. Rookie division, everyone, and as you can see, I was using XMile level 8 on 2 holes. Please disregard the level of those clubs, just focus on the way that I'm playing. I understand that we do have a big variance of clubs, in all the divisions. So even though you might have a very low set of clubs, set levels of clubs, like an extra mile 1 or 2, or you will have an extra mile level 8 or maybe an apocalypse level 4, level 5, then of course you might have to tweak your adjustment a little bit. But the routes that we're taking, the adjustment we're taking, should be working for the clubs that you are having out there. And if you do have a question about a specific hole, or maybe you have another way you are thinking about playing, please let me know in the comment section below, and I will be happy to help you out there with anything that you might need. Also, if you like the video, press thumbs up before you go. Sign up on Patreon for getting the updated text guide, which will give you pinpointed information on how to approach every hole in this division to maximize the opportunity for a good score. So everything you can find in the video description down below, together with timestamps, so you can navigate in an easier way in this playthrough. Thank you so much for watching, and the video here is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. Good luck in the Fuji Open Tournament.